Social skills are those skills that enable a person to interact and communicate with others in a meaningful way. Many learners with FASD struggle with social skills due to difficulties with social awareness, complex expression of feelings, understanding directions, social cues, and fast-paced conversations. In this module, we highlight a framework for working with learners with FASD to help them acquire the social skills needed to live and succeed in their day-to-day life. Neurotypical learners tend to acquire social skills through observation and modeling of adults and peers in their life. Some learners with FASD, however, need to be specifically taught the skills and then given time to practice them in both controlled and real-life settings. Step 1. Decide what needs to be taught. Deciding on which skills to teach a student is the first step. Every student is an individual with different strengths and needs. Complete an assessment of the student's social skills using observation, informal interviews, behavioral scales, and checklists. Focus on the skills that the learner will need in his or her present and future living and working environments. Reassess often to ensure up-to-date information. Once the assessment is complete, develop a list of the skills the student needs to learn or improve. If appropriate, involve the student in this decision-making process. Examples of commonly needed social skills include dealing with anger and frustration, asking questions appropriately, joining a group activity already in progress, making friends, cooperating with peers, and coping with teasing or threats from others. When deciding where to begin, it is useful to pick one pertinent skill that is a current area of difficulty for the student. Create small groups of students with similar skill deficits. You may want to begin with 2 or 3 and gradually increase to 4 or 5. Pay close attention to the student dynamics when choosing groups. One would not want to include 2 students who have a victim-bully relationship in the same group.
So one of the things in our social groups that we've noticed to be very important is to consider the group participants we have. We like to choose people with like personalities and who have similar interests, maybe not kids that are very hyper with really shy kids. We like kids who have similar characteristics. And we now keep our groups. We interview the students before they come into a group to make sure it'll be a nice fit.
One idea is to have the students in the group identify other students who they feel may be a good fit. For example, students that they can relate to because they have similar social difficulties. Consider training peer facilitators to increase the effectiveness of the training. Beyond the obvious benefit of improving the immediate training, your peer facilitators will build capacity in your school for increased social inclusion of students. Step 2. Organize and plan. Once you have chosen your group, decide on when, where, and how often to meet. Consider having your group meet early in the day when students may be more attentive and less tired. As well, a morning session provides more time after the lesson to practice. Choosing how often to meet may be impacted by the class schedule, but keep in mind that students will need lots of repetition and reinforcement. Shorter meetings that happen more often may improve effectiveness. When deciding where to meet, consider promoting generalization by creating opportunities to practice the skill in different settings. Finally, social skills should be taught in a natural and supportive environment. Create group norms for the group by solidifying rules for things like privacy of group information and respect for others in the group. Have the students actively participate in making group norms, which allows them to express their needs as well. Teachers can add any extra group norms deemed necessary.
In terms of creating group norms, we want everyone in our group to feel confident, accepted, they don't want to feel judged, and they want to feel safe. So we ask the kids to create their own group norms. So what we want to do here is create an environment that we all feel comfortable talking in.
Clearly lay out what it looks like when the rules are followed. If students can write out the norms, it's very easy to simply point to the list when a norm is being violated. Students respond well to this tactic rather than implementing rules with consequences. Step 3. Introduce the skill. Begin with an easy-to-learn skill to ensure student success. For example, you may want to teach the students to address familiar people when walking down the school hallway. This skill is important at all grade levels. Introduce the topic and encourage group sharing of personal experiences related to the topic.
So can anyone here talk about a experience they've had walking down the hallway where maybe things didn't go as you planned?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you say hi to someone and they just completely ignore you.
So you sometimes feel ignored?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a negative experience when you try to say hi to somebody?
They just kind of look at you and eye you down like you don't really matter to me.
Next, begin brainstorming successful actions and gathering ideas about possible rules.
Say hi.
Yeah, you say hi.
High five, handshake.
High five, handshake.
Just kind of be accepting to anyone you see.
Yeah.
Respond to the greeting.
Respond.
In any way.
Yeah. So you look at people in the eye. You don't go like, hi, how are you doing? Right? Make sure you pay attention to give them eye contact.
So maybe just to summarize from start to finish, when you're approaching a person, what do you do? How do you know that they're a good person to talk to, or how do you project that you're a good person to talk to?
Be friendly.
Be friendly, maybe you should smile at them. And then we talked about the eye contact. And then what would be the third step?
Ask them questions.
Ask some questions, say hello, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Gather the ideas into a selection of rules. For example, if the person is familiar, make eye contact and smile. If the person says hello, reply with hello or hi. If the person waves, wave back. One discussion topic could involve deciding what actions are appropriate for specific people. For example, you may greet a teacher differently than a friend. Step 4. Model the skill. Next, the teacher models the behavior. In this case, demonstrate a successful walk past a student. Use self-talk during the demonstration to point out what kinds of decisions are being made as different situations are encountered.
I'm smiling, making eye contact. Hi, Piers.
Hi, Jackie.
How are you doing?
Good, nice to see you.
You too.
Make sure that you demonstrate the scenario several times and get student ideas and feedback each time.
You smiled and made eye contact.
Yeah. Anything else?
Walk towards each other.
Yeah. What else? Anything else?
Established a greeting.
Yeah. And we also called each other by name.
Step 5. Practice the skill through role play. Once the students are able to show an understanding of the process and rules involved, divide them into groups of 2 or 3 and have them begin practicing through role play. Give the students various scenarios to practice. Have the students alternate roles with each new scenario so that each student gets equal practice time. Provide opportunities for feedback. Remember that students learn best with lots of encouragement and specific praise. Process teaching can work well here.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Graham.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Behaviors that students naturally exhibit can be highlighted by the students themselves or by the facilitator. And then new ways of behaving can be brainstormed and role-played amongst members.
I thought what they did was really good, except Nikki called the other person by their first, but not by their first name, but said, "Hey, buddy," which is kind of friendly, but could call them by the first name.
Yeah.
It was okay. Could have used a handshake, maybe more personal touch, maybe names.
Well, I thought it was pretty good. They did greet one another, responded to each other's greetings. And yeah, they established eye contact and we said hello to one another.
To increase the relevancy of the practice, let the students contribute scenario ideas from their own experiences. As well, incorporate the assistance of trained peer helpers in the role plays so that the practice is more meaningful. To increase success, consider these strategies. Establish clear boundaries between appropriate and inappropriate behaviors. Provide adequate supervision. Use praise and reinforce often. Teach critical aspects of communication, such as posture, eye contact, voice quality, and proximity. To support students who may have difficulty generalizing, practice the role-playing in the places where the skills will be required. In this case, practice in different hallways around the school. Step 6. Practice in a real-life setting. It is important not to assume that a student who can role-play a skill appropriately will automatically transfer that ability to real-life situations. Once the students are comfortable with the skill during the safety of supervised practice, it is time for them to apply the skill to real-life settings. State your expectations for practice, be specific, and do not allow too much time to pass before checking on progress.
I just wanted to know what you thought of it.
I felt accepted.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was really nice to learn. I would use it in real life. It felt good.
Okay.
I felt happy because someone said hi.
Okay, so is that something you tried before in the past?
Yeah, a couple
A little
times.
bit.
maybe
Do you
once
feel
or
a little
twice.
more confident now that we've walked through it a few times?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And do you think that's something that you could do on your own time?
Probably. Yeah, I liked it.
So you can go out into the hallway and practice with your friends or maybe even new people?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that's excellent. So, as we said, I'd like to see you do it for homework next week.
A few
Okay.
times.
Yeah.
See how many people you can greet.
All right.
Sure.
It is helpful to share the planned skill with other teachers, support workers, counselors, administrators, and even students so that everyone can support the student in their successful learning.
One of the problems of teaching social skills is when nobody in the student's environment knows about what they're working on. It's probably a good idea to share with the other adults in their environment in general what the students are working on in the group and what they're going to be practicing on in their environment. So we do this by perhaps emailing a group email of the people that are associated with these students, or just mention it to the counselor, and maybe the counselor spreads the news.
Step 7. Review, give feedback, practice again if needed. Identify the student or students who may need additional support, and try to be near in the hallway when they change class. Immediate positive feedback in a natural setting will increase their success with the skill. As well, remember that practice, practice, practice is the key through role-playing, review sessions, and assignment to real-life settings. Reassign practice as needed, and reinforce that this is not just an assignment. They are learning a skill that needs to be used on a regular basis in real life. Although a small group setting was used, the method outlined in this module could easily be adapted for use in a classroom setting. As well, this process can be applied to all grade levels. It is important to remember to begin with the prerequisite skills and then move on to the more advanced ones. For example, it makes sense to teach the skill of waiting your turn before you teach the skill of interrupting appropriately, as the second skill builds upon the first. Know your student. He or she may need visual or tactile reminders to carry around, and may need to learn how to use these reminders appropriately. This module has highlighted a framework for teaching social skills to learners with FASD. Make sure that your curriculum is comprised of the skills that are most important to your students' social needs, and that your student can see the relevance and benefit of improving the skill.